All right, welcome back, everybody, to the Settle Down podcast. This is episode number 5. We got a special guest today, Jonny Lazarus. Jonny is a media personality for the NHL. You have a podcast for the Rangers, the Blue Crew Pod. You got a pretty good resume, too. You got, writer for the Hockey News. There's a lot of stuff I kind of forget. But I met Jonny in Nashville the night of the draft. It was all kind of crazy, just like how it came up. I had 2 friends move to Nashville, and I wanted to go see them and visit them. And I was like, oh my God, the draft is in Nashville this year. I feel like I kind of have to go to that. And then I saw Chicklets there posting about they were going to go. And I was like, holy shit, like, what are the odds I run into them? And then sure enough, like I was trying to see, I didn't really know where they were going to be, where you guys all were. But my friend was just like, let's go to Top Aldean's. And I'm like, okay, whatever, like I'm down. She got to go like into the draft. I just stay outside like a bum. Then we got up there. I saw Biz and I was like, oh my God, this is happening. Like they're all here. And then Grinelli actually introduced me to you guys, the Empty Netters guys. And you guys gave me great advice just to keep pushing on. And at that point we were a little bit smaller in our podcast stuff. Like we'd only had our one show and we were filming in our friend's apartment. And then, thanks to you, we found all this stuff, everything like that. So, but other than that though, Rangers are looking good, Jonny. How do you feel about this season with them?
Meanwhile, you always fuck up the first take. That was pretty good, dude. It was great meeting you in Nashville. And listen, like I think I meet a lot of younger guys, but I could tell right away from you, Sean, you were just like, a hungry kid that was actually like willing to learn, right? Like, a lot of younger kids ask me for advice and then I never hear from them again. You asked me for advice and you kept in touch. And that's like a huge part of how you build out it's just all about relationships and friendships. And you were a genuine kid who just wanted to like shoot the shit, hang out, have a drink,
Yeah, that too. It was just like,
you didn't like ask for anything. You were just kind of hanging out. But where in Idaho are you guys? Are you both in Idaho?
Yeah, we're both in Boise.
Boise?
Yeah. So he went, I went to Boise State for a couple of years, dropped out like my sophomore year around COVID. We just started working full time. Galli, you graduated what?
Yeah, I graduated 2022. I was working for the Idaho Steelheads, a ECHL team around here for the past year or so, and now I'm working for a marketing company here. So cool. Super fucking fun working for them. But on to other things now.
Well, I bet you guys judged me as a New Yorker that I wouldn't know shit about Idaho, but I actually, believe it or not, and I know this is going to come up, but my roommate in junior hockey in Wichita Falls was actually from Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. So
no way.
I went to his wedding a couple of summers ago in Coeur d'Alene and got to spend some time there. And it is a very underrated city. Coeur d'Alene, especially, it's a hidden gem. Like I heard, like Bieber has a house there and shit.
Gretzky has a house there too.
Yeah, it's sweet. I don't know how far it is from Boise, but Idaho is cool.
It's like 5 or 6 hours. You hit Lake Coeur d'Alene at all though up there? Yeah, it's like at the very north part of Idaho. We're at the very like southern part of Idaho, but do you hit Lake Coeur d'Alene up there?
Oh yeah, I went on like a boat tour and stuff. It was pretty cool.
Fuck yeah, that's sweet.
Yeah, it was awesome. I loved it there. I had a great weekend.
That's badass, man.
Yeah, Coeur d'Alene. My brother, he played. So my brother is 16 now. He played up in Coeur d'Alene. My dad would like drive him up there every weekend. But he played out there in Coeur d'Alene because they have a pretty good academy team out there. Coeur d'Alene's awesome. I went there back in 2018, but it's super pretty.
Yeah, it's gorgeous.
When I knew like Gretzky had a house there, I was like, okay, this place is pretty legit. But to start it off, one of our first questions, Galli, you can go.
100%. I was just kind of curious, growing up in the Northeast playing hockey, I'm from a non-traditional hockey market in Montana and Idaho. I was just kind of curious, what your route was, growing up playing hockey and kind of how you ended up in Wichita Falls too.
Yeah. I mean, I'll try to keep it shorter, but, growing up for me, like hockey wasn't very popular. Like, I was one of like 2 of my close friends that really played it. Believe it or not, I like wanted to be in the NBA till I was like 10 years old. Like I loved Stephon Marbury. I was a huge Knicks fan. And I played like I played all sports. Like I played soccer, I played baseball, I played basketball, hockey. I actually played a lot of roller hockey when I was younger. So like ice wasn't even really a thing for me until I was in 5th grade. And, I think I always just like, the way I describe myself, I wasn't like a hockey player. I was just like a kid who loved hockey. Like I wasn't like a rink rat or like, I didn't skate at 6 a.m. Like, I always just like came home from school, threw on my rollerblades and just like fucked around in the driveway and like loved hockey. Like everything I did revolved around hockey.
Yeah.
And as I got older, I think I went to a Boston College game when I was in 6th grade, and that's when I was like, oh my God, like college hockey is sick. Like I want to do this. And then, by the time I was in 8th grade, I had quit every other sport. Funny story. My dad actually like made me quit baseball in 5th grade. He's like, I can't watch this shit anymore. You can't play. So, that was funny. But yeah, it was tough to let go of basketball. Like I really love basketball, and I still tried to play when I was younger. I play a little bit pickup now, but I suck now, which is a shame because I really love playing.
That.
Yeah, it's when you lose it. Like there's nothing worse getting older and you like used to be good at something and you just can't figure it out anymore. Like that is the most frustrating thing on the planet. But then back to your Wichita Falls question. So like, I didn't even know like really what junior hockey was till I was in like 11th grade. That's when I started getting attention from like USHL teams and NA teams. And, my parents didn't play. My dad didn't play. I didn't have a brother that played. Like I have one older sister. So I didn't come from like a huge like sport family. My dad played lacrosse growing up and he always tried to push lacrosse on me and I just didn't really like it. So I kind of learned like with my parents, right? Like we had coaches reach out and I would go to like all these showcases and stuff and just learn about all these different junior programs, junior teams. And like I said, like in 11th grade is when I really started to get attention. And, my senior year of high school, I didn't even apply to college. I fully committed to it. Like I had to sit down with my parents and I was like, you know what, I'm just going to go for it. And my dad always said, like, you can always go back to school if you need. It's always going to be there. Like my dad didn't even like really go to college. So it's not like I grew up with like this like crazy, you have to go here, you have to do this, you have to do that. Kind of upbringing, which like a lot of my friends, honestly, for the most part did have. Like, my high school friend group, a lot of parents like went to Michigan or like, Big Ten schools. And, I think sometimes in the environment I grew up in, it was a little bit competitive in that sense. And a lot of people like didn't understand that I wasn't going to go to college right away. But Wichita Falls, luckily enough, tendered me. So that like before the draft, they kind of had my rights. And I went to the Sioux Falls Stampede tryout 2 years in a row and was cut as an alternate back-to-back years. So I ended up in Wichita Falls, and I mean, I loved it there. Like, being and there were some tough times too, which I'm sure we'll get into. But yeah, I didn't even know where Wichita Falls was on the map. Made the team in Chicago out of training camp and or main camp, and just picked up and moved after my senior year of high school. So I had graduated high school and then moved on to junior. But yeah, it was an eye opener for sure.
Awesome.
Definitely. And I guess, like how was that process getting into Wichita? So were you, scouted out of, high school? Were you playing high school at the time or were you playing lower level juniors?
I was playing lower level junior. Like high school hockey wasn't a big thing for me. Where I'm from in Long Island, it's kind of like house league. Like I played in like 9th and 10th grade, but then once travel picked up, it's just too much time. But it's funny. Like I'll tell a good story. So when I was tendered for Wichita Falls, and I was at the first Sioux Falls Stampede tryout, I actually forgot my skates at home for the tryout.
No.
I land in Minnesota, and I'm like, or my dad was like, your bag felt a little bit lighter, like on the scale, and I was like, I took my skates out last night to dry, and my dad honestly, like, my dad was a very, I guess, anxious person, and like, cleaned out my bag, like Febrezed all my shit. Like he took care of my dad, like took care of my stuff. I was very lucky. And he was like, I don't think I put your skates back in your bag. And I was like, oh my God, like what are we supposed to do? So I called my coach at the time, Bob Thornton. I'm like, Bob, I left my skates at home. Like, what do I do? And he goes, tell me you got sick, go home. Like, don't even try to like skate. And I was like, I'm not doing that. Like, I just flew here. Like, I'm going to skate. So I had to call the Sioux Falls Stampede coaches, and I borrowed a pair of skates for the first night. And the head coach to Wichita Falls was at the camp, like watching. And I couldn't fucking move in these skates. Like, I don't know if, like, for anyone that doesn't play hockey, like, it's not like you're borrowing a pair of sneakers you can just run.
No,
like,
skates you got to break in.
Yeah, skates are, and everyone has like a different sharpening. Like, I couldn't fucking move out there. And John LaFontaine, who was the head coach at the time, Pat's brother, literally said, the first time I saw you, I was like, why did we tender this kid? Like, he's like, so that's a good story. But yeah, I mean, that's just kind of how Wichita Falls found me and whatnot. But that's a story I definitely love to tell.
Nice. So LaFontaine, what's your connection with him?
So John LaFontaine, Pat's older brother, was the head coach of Wichita Falls. So I actually played against Dan, who's Pat's son, on Long Island growing up. They actually won the national championship the year we played against them. They actually had like a cool like NHL Network documentary that year called "Making of a Royal," which like followed Pat and his team like throughout the national championship. A kid highlighted in that is Justin Bailey, who's in the NHL. I forget which team he's on right now. I think he was in Vancouver. But it was a pretty cool little docuseries and whatnot. But yeah, I played a little bit with Dan, Pat's son, and Pat's brother John was my coach for 2 years, who I like couldn't say more good things about. Like he is, the coolest guy. Actually, funny enough, the first time I saw him since playing there, I ran into him on the ice after Vegas won the cup. Like he was just his daughter's married to Teddy Bluger, and I didn't know that. And we just like locked eyes like on the ice. I was like,
yeah,
Bob? It's so funny.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, it was
great. So you played after Wichita. You played UMass, right? For 2 years.
Yeah. So I went to UMass my freshman year and sophomore year, and then I transferred to Mercyhurst like midway through sophomore year.
And you played with Cale for a year, right?
For a semester. So okay. For like 4 months.
Okay.
It's actually funny. It's kind of a silly story, but at UMass when I was there, they made the freshmen and like sophomores come back in the summers to train and stuff. But I had actually played in this thing. You guys definitely don't know it. This thing called the Maccabee Games, which is like the Jewish Olympics in Israel. So I played for Team USA, like all Jewish athletes in Israel for the summer for like 3 weeks. And my first day back on campus in the summer was Cale's first day. So I was like, fuck, the boys will be so happy I'm back. And it was just all about Cale. And I was like,
all about Cale,
sucks. But even I was like, oh my God, this is sick. Like Cale just got drafted overall. And the first time I did like a one-on-one against him, I was like, oh my God, this kid is so sick. Like
you got toasted, yeah.
I held my own, but he was.
Did you? Okay.
What was the one thing you noticed about him that was just like that stood out to other players?
So here's the thing about Cale Makar, and we actually talked about this. Like, so I still do like the UMass games, like color commentary and stuff. And we were talking about this in the training room the other night, like post game. And if you look at him, or at least back then, it's not like he's putting up the most weight in the gym. It's not like he's the strongest looking guy. He is just a freak on his skates. Like you put skates on, he becomes the strongest guy like on the planet. Like there's no knocking him down. There's no out muscling him. He actually had this move, which I never had seen before up until that point where, I mean, I'm sure it's popular now. I don't see a lot of guys do it, but he did a reverse hit. So like he'd have the puck and a forechecker would come to hit him. He'd somewhat like leave the puck and hit the guy back as he's going to get hit. And knock the guy on his ass because the forechecker wouldn't see that coming. And then he'd skate the puck up. It was like the first time I saw him do that, I was like, this kid is a freak. Like that was sick.
Yeah. I think he might have stole that from me because my dad.
That's your move.
My dad always, he always used to tell me, he's like, you either be the hammer or the nail.
Yeah.
Pick one.
And he posted clips on TikTok. Maybe he saw it on TikTok.
Maybe he did. It was on my Instagram. Way down at the bottom. But there's like one play where this guy comes in and I just shoulder checked him back. But no, he definitely didn't steal it from me.
No, but that was the thing I noticed. He was just like such a freak athlete. And you wouldn't be able to tell by looking at him.
Yeah.
Sure. So I guess I mean I know you did both UMass and Mercyhurst. What was it like playing like in the Hockey East? Going around to those different schools and Boston College and whatnot. What can you just touch on that a little bit?
It was so sick. It really was. Like I mean some of these schools, Maine for one is like my favorite place that I ever played at. Like that place was so loud. People just loved it. And I'll tell like one cool story. One experience I got to have was my freshman year. We played in a frozen Fenway game. So we played outdoor at Fenway Park, which was my first time there, which was super cool. And we played against BU, which that year, 7 guys on BU were guys that just won the World Junior in that crazy shootout game that, the Troy Terry, that year. So it was McAvoy, Keller, Greenway. Trying to think who else. I'm blanking right now, but those 3 definitely stood out. So they literally won the World Juniors, and 2 days later we played them at Fenway Park. And I'm pretty sure they were still hungover from celebrating that championship. But that was like the most scared I've ever been to play against a hockey team. I was like, these kids are gonna fucking kill us. but we held our own. We lost 5-3, but that was super cool. Just like, being at Fenway Park,
Yeah.
representing your school, and having like probably 8,000 to 10,000 people there, even though it's doesn't seem like a lot in a big baseball stadium, but it was super cool. And just being in Boston, like I didn't grow up in a big college hockey like area. Like I didn't root for any college teams growing up, but when you're there, it's such a young city that like people are so passionate about it. And it was super cool to just like be in Boston where everyone just like kind of follows and knows and loves college hockey.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. Yeah, so then after that, Mercyhurst. After the Mercyhurst, I remember one of the podcasts I was listening to that you were on. You said pretty much after that you kind of started getting into media after COVID happened, was it?
Mm-hmm. Well, pre-COVID, I was there. So I graduated 2020, so that's kind of like when I was starting it, and then COVID hit, and it kind of helped me do that stuff. But like my Mercyhurst experience was just so night and day from my UMass experience, in that like my freshman year I played a lot, and I was solid. I had like 9 points, 5 goals freshman year. And sophomore year, I just like I couldn't crack the lineup. Like I played 2 games, was scratched the rest of the way. And I tell people if I had not played freshman year and, kind of tried to earn it more, that I would have ended up staying at UMass. But because I had a taste of it, all I wanted to do was play. And, at the time it was definitely an emotional decision to leave, because I loved my social life at UMass. Like I really had, a lot of friends on different teams, and even in like fraternities and stuff, but I wasn't happy like at the rink every day, toward the end of it, where, I'm a pretty happy-go-lucky person. And I think for most hockey players, a lot of your happiness away from the rink comes from the success in the rink. And it was starting to affect my social life, like, not playing and whatnot. I was just beating myself up, and I was really tough on myself, and I didn't want to do that for like another 3 years. So, I decided to go to Mercyhurst, and, I got the opportunity to play, but, at that time there was no like transfer portal, and you had to sit out for a year. So I had to redshirt for a year, and I couldn't travel with the team on weekends, and I couldn't play in games. So I was like, I need to pick up a hobby, because I'm like losing my mind. So I kind of like, I was doing media stuff at UMass. I was an intern in the media department. Like it's funny, I would do like our pregame write-ups. So I'd try to throw my name in there every now and then, like, oh, watch but yeah, no, it was, so I got to Mercyhurst, and I was like, I need to make, it's going from a 25,000 student school to like a 5,000 student school. So it was pretty nuts. So I just like went to the media department one day, and I was like, I'd love to intern any way I can, like do a talk show or something. And they were very welcoming, and they kind of just like let me start some with my friend Leah Kern and Chris Mikowski. And we started like our own talk show around campus, and, got to interview other athletes and stuff. And that's really where I found like the love for it. But, back to what I was saying before, like I played at Mercyhurst, but my social life I didn't love. It was just like, coming from New York, I'm my graduating high school class had like 600 people. I come from a pretty big town, and it just wasn't like fulfilling enough for me, away from the rink. So I always just like looked to do more. And that's why, like, I do say everything happens for a reason, because I think had I stayed at UMass, I would have had way more distractions. But yeah, no, I luckily enough like got an internship with the Otters from that. And like I really just, loved everyone at Mercyhurst. It just, the social life, it was just like, we go to one bar, and it was the same group. And it's it's nice to have, a core group of friends, but it's also tough to know you're not going to meet anyone new for the most part,
It's pretty small school. It's private, correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
So what was Lake Erie like? That's in Lake Erie, correct?
Oh my God, man, that place, it snows every day. And you guys probably know up in Idaho, like I am not a winter guy. Like I do not like, I don't snowboard, I don't ski, I don't do any of that shit. Like I play hockey. That's as close to ice as I'll get. Like that's it. So I was, I wasn't the happiest guy up there scraping off the car 5 days a week, but definitely make the most of it. Would I want to go there, for a long period of time again? Probably not. But I was grateful for the opportunity I got. Like, Erie is a really fun town, and I think you can almost have fun anywhere, if you make it fun. So I think that was the attitude of a lot of the guys. Like, even when it snowed, like we still found ways to have fun. And trust me, when there's a nice day though, that's fucking fun up in Erie. Like if it's 60 degrees and sunny out, you treat it like it's 90 in the summer. It is we got the beer dye going out in like March when it's 55,
That's awesome.
But yeah, I don't want I loved my time at Mercyhurst just for different reasons. I'm grateful for that for sure.
Yeah. No, that's
So
awesome.
you mentioned beer dye. Are you a big tosser?
Well, I haven't in years because there's no like place to play in New York City. I live in Brooklyn, but there's no place to play beer dye out here. So
Yeah.
Totally.
I definitely played a lot of it when I was younger. I love that game. I mean, like I don't need beer pong. I do like 21 Cup. That's my personal favorite.
Yeah.
But beer dye on a nice spring
Nice day. Yeah.
No better vibe.
Yeah, we did that. What was it? Spring break 2021. We went up to McCall, which is like not half. It's like 3 hours from here.
Mm-hmm.
And we were on a rented an Airbnb, and we were on a golf course in the snow. And it was like spring break, but spring break here is not. It's winter.
Winter break.
Yeah, it's pretty much winter break. So we were on the golf course, but it's covered in snow, and we were playing beer dye in like sweaters and like pants and stuff. But
still good vibes though.
Yeah, no, it was fun. But yeah, let's see. So now, after college and all that stuff, can you kind of explain how you got that in with the NHL? And like now you're doing content with them, Bleacher Report, all that stuff.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of it's a tough story to make short. So I'll do the best I can.
Yeah.
But so I graduated 2020, COVID just happened, and I started my own podcast at the time that I was doing with a buddy of mine, and I was kind of going back and forth on if I wanted to continue playing and try to play pro, but my ceiling like wasn't very high. Like I knew I wouldn't, even like I had a hard time even cracking like the East Coast League. So, I didn't want to put too much emphasis on my pro career, but I did want to give it a shot just to say that I played pro. But I got a lot of good advice from people that said like, if your ceiling is what it is, just start media now because, Kobe Cohen, who's a huge mentor of mine who I'm actually going to be doing a lot of work with in the near future, said like, he was a black ace with the Bruins when they won the cup, but he does media now, and he had wished that he had hung him up a little bit earlier just to be further in advance in his media career now. So I was like, you know what, COVID, like I'm just going to see what I can do and see what I can get out of this media thing. And at the time it was difficult because I was, also a college graduate looking to find a job and make some money, living at home. Like it was a really difficult time. But the one thing I had that kind of was my purpose waking up every day was doing media stuff and interviewing people. And, not to say COVID was great for me, which, I feel horrible that so many people had to go through so many terrible things, but having that access to people who are just looking to kill 30 minutes of their day was huge. Like I got so many interviews with guys that just were willing to hop on a computer to talk to me, So if it weren't for COVID, I don't even know if I would be where I am right now. And I think a big thing too, which my initial connection kind of came with the NHL, who I'm sure this is a guy you guys might know, but September of 2020, I'm friends with Bob Menery's managers. Do you guys know Bob?
Oh yeah.
Who's Bob?
Bob Menery. He was like the voice of Buffalo Wild Wings. He did some stuff with the Nelk Boys for a bit.
Okay.
Yeah.
He does like a funny commentator voice over videos on social media and stuff.
Yeah.
But he's funny as shit. I got a random call one day from, my friend Matt, who was one of his managers, and was like, hey, like, I know you're unemployed. I know you like Bob Menery stuff. Like, do you want to move to LA tomorrow and like be his assistant? And I was like, are you fucking kidding me? Like, let me ask my mom. Yeah, like I'm down. So, I called my parents and I said, like, this is a great opportunity for me. Like, I got nothing else going on right now. Like, just one. And a huge thing, I think, just to be successful in this career path, you have to say yes to everything, or at least most things. Like, you never know where one thing can lead you. So, on a whim, I packed the suitcase, couched her for like 3 months in LA, and worked with Bob pretty closely, which was like super cool. And I made the connection with Steve Mayer, who was the chief content officer at the time and still, is a very high up man at the NHL. And I knew he was a Bob fan. So I was like, hey, like I work with Bob Menery. I'm his personal assistant. I think it'd be great to have some collaboration between the NHL and Bob. I think to be a great audience, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And nothing really came from that conversation because Bob ended up actually like leaving LA and going to Arizona and not needing me anymore. So I moved back home. But I just kept in touch with Steve. So when I first started my Ranger show, which the Believe Podcast Network like reached out to me and they said, hey, we do a show for all sports teams. We need a Ranger guy. Would you want to do it? And I was like, definitely. Like, yes.
Yeah.
So I interviewed Steve. He came on my show and we just kind of formed this relationship and kept in touch. And then, randomly in the 2022 playoffs, I got a LinkedIn message from Paulie V, who was a producer at the NHL. And he was like, we're doing this low budget show called Third Period Live. We think you'd be great for it. Do you have any interest? And I was like, yeah, down.
Yeah.
And that's kind of just what started my career. But, it's really just been, timing is almost everything. Right.
Yeah.
And, Sean, I think I told you in Nashville, like, you just got to put yourself out there. Like, if you're consistent, like enough people will see you. Yeah. And, I think that's a huge thing. Like I see your guys' clips all the time. Like they come up, and awesome. I think that's huge. Like I know who you guys are. But yeah, that's pretty much how it all got started.
Cool. Yeah, I remember one thing I remember you telling me when we were in Nashville. I remember you saying like it only fails if you quit. Yeah, and that was something I still take to this day. And I look back.
Got a good drunk memory, bro.
Yeah, yeah. Well, just like that was like one of the biggest things that stuck. I remember Chris and Dan saying to get on Twitter or something like they're just like.
Well, I told them to get on Twitter because their Twitter sucked at the time, and now they're buzzing.
Really? Yeah, now they are. I remember you saying that, and like even I look back on anything I've done, like not looking at, it's not necessarily failing at something. It's just you gave up on it, and it's not like a thing to take. So I appreciate you saying that. I've been seeing a lot of you on your Instagram with you being with the Rangers in like the press room, asking head coach all that stuff. Is that like what are you doing now with them? Is it all like how did you get that?
So I cover the Rangers through the Hockey News. So like I'm not a full-time beat reporter, but I do cover the team, as much as I personally can. Because right now I'm not hired full-time by anyone. Everything I do is kind of freelance. Yeah. Which is good because I can kind of do a ton of different things. But also it does have its, cons because I don't have great health insurance. Which matters when you're older than 26. You guys don't talk about that yet, I don't think.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I cover the team for the Hockey News. So I go to every home game, and I will be going to most road games if I can, based on travel and scheduling and whatnot. So that's been a blast. And the Hockey News has been a very historic magazine for years. I grew up reading it, and I'm pretty sure they were tied to Sports Illustrated for a long time. And they kind of did a whole revamp last year, and I saw they didn't have a Rangers writer. So my good buddy Stefan Rosner covers – I think you met him too in Nashville. He covers the Islanders for the Hockey News, and I reached out. And I was like, hey, like, do they need a Rangers writer? And he was like, yeah, I don't think they have one. So I just reached out, and, luckily they gave me the opportunity.
Yeah, that's cool. The next thing I have here, I see a lot, like on Bleacher Report, how you're kind of face-to-face with a lot of these NHL players or Roberto Luongo, Henrik Lundqvist, all that stuff. What is that like for you? Just kind of is like kind of surreal sometimes, or you're just like, oh shit, I'm talking to Sidney Crosby right now on the ice.
There's definitely the few that are like, even at 27 years old, I'm still like, holy shit. But also like for me, I don't want to say I've never really been starstruck, but I know a lot of like the guy, like I grew up playing with a lot of the guys that are in the league now, and I was in college with, some really good players and stuff. So I've never been like they're different human beings than me. I've always had that like just genuine connection to these guys.
Humans,
and I think, what's so beneficial about that though, like those skating videos, is that when you talk to a hockey player, like they're most comfortable in their skates on the ice. Like, whether you're asking a hard-hitting question or a softball, like they'll give you a more genuine response when they're just stick handling a puck and skating around the ice.
Yeah.
So I think that's been so beneficial for me, is just being in that natural environment, talking to them. Whereas, in those press conferences that you mentioned before with Laviolette, like it's, a recording device and a podium, and it's very professional. Whereas those skates, it's just like, hey, dude, we're just shooting the shit, skating around the ice.
I think that's awesome.
Oh my God, yeah, it's been a total dream come true. Like I still can't believe that I'm doing it. And obviously, if you told me this when I was 10 years old, I would be like, no, like I'm blown away when I see myself, next to Crosby or whatever. Like I think it's super cool, and obviously something I'm very grateful to do. And there's a lot of fun ones coming out. So I banged out like 10 of them in Vegas that day. So there's some good ones coming out that I'm really excited to share. They're a lot of fun.
Yeah, one thing I always saw like with you guys, and even like Empty Netters guys too, just like the whole, like you guys are fans first. I remember someone said that, and like that's kind of how it's like a good approach to have. And I think it's also good for the game. I think NHL is like one of the lower of the four big sports, just like media wise. So I think it's cool that you guys kind of bring that different angle where it's like, we're just like fans of the game.
Yeah.
And talk, it's not like super professional. Obviously you're not like cussing to them or talking about bad stuff, but still, yeah. Yeah, that kind of leads into my next thing. I've heard this story, but I want everyone else to hear it. I want to hear about your time with the Cup and that night after you guys had won with our last minutes that we have.
Yeah, it is so tough to do it justice.
Yeah.
If I could tell everyone, not to like plug another show, but the Empty Netters podcast that we did the day after that night, highly recommend listening to that if you want like the real raw story.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, that night was like, it's funny for me. Like I was trying to go home. Like I was tired. I did not want to be out later than like 3 a.m. Like I was pretty gassed. Like the Cup was great. I saw it and I was like, how could this night get better? Like we were just at Omnia with the Cup. Like that's it. The night's done. Like get me home. I'm exhausted.
Yeah.
But Chris and Dan and Grinnell were just like, dude, let's just stay out. Let's stay out.
Yeah.
So as we're like leaving Omnia, the nightclub where the Golden Knights brought the Stanley Cup to.
And also really quick, you guys saw Kevin Connolly was there too with the
Kevin Connolly, Henrik Lundqvist, Witt, Biz.
I love Entourage is like my second favorite show. So when I saw that he was getting into hockey, I was like, holy shit! Like
he's always been into hockey. He's been a diehard Islanders fan his whole life.
Yeah. Even the show.
So who's your favorite Entourage character?
Ari. Ari's my favorite.
I'm a drama guy.
Drama's awesome. Yeah.
Funny enough, my middle name is Chase, so my name is Johnny Chase.
Really?
Kind of sick.
Oh no way! Yeah.
Johnny
Drama. It's funny.
But yeah. So we saw Connolly and all those guys, and as we're leaving Omnia, we ran into Eichel and Colasar and Nick Hague, and they like Eichel was just screaming like, "Let's go to McMullen's," and Chris was like, "Dude, we're going to McMullen's," and I was like, it's this place like 2.5 miles off the strip. Like we're going to show up and they're not going to be there. Like sure as shit, like whatever. And we go there, probably sitting there for like 10 minutes. I ordered this terrible beer. I thought it was a cider and it was not. So made everyone drink that. And I think Chris was like, all right, they're not showing up, boys. Like, let's just have one friend beer and call it a night. And like 2 minutes after that, we hear the door and it's Eichel, Colasar, Hague, a couple of their buddies strolling into this bar with like 4 people. Like there was no one there. It's this like old Irish dive bar. Like literally everyone's kind of winding their night down. It's like 4:30 a.m. And we're like, oh my God, like no way. Like the Cup wasn't there. So like whatever, we missed that. But we're in a bar now, like 15, 20 people with like 3 of the Stanley Cup champs who are, hammered obviously. And, having like a little intimate setting with them was super cool. Like we spoke to Jack for like probably like an hour and he broke down like each series, like gave us like, in-depth detail about like everything from the year. And, there's some stuff obviously I can't repeat, but it was just, it was so cool. Like hearing him just like talk about what it meant to him, and it was the most raw, genuine conversation I think I've ever had with an athlete. Granted, we were all pretty drunk, but it's like, like that's when the emotion comes out. Right. So, we left the bar. I think I have a picture. It was like 5:45.
I have it.
Something like that. You
I
have
have a screen grab of it. Yeah.
Yeah. That was a pretty good one.
There it is. Yeah. 5:40 in the morning. Jack Eichel. That's
holy shit. Yeah. That was that was a pretty good memorable night.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that was definitely hopefully they'll have some better nights than that, but I think that might be it for me.
Yeah. Cool. Well, one last thing. I know a lot of times you always do those on ice things, so I have a couple questions for you, just rapid fire, really quick.
Yeah.
I'm gonna steal yours. Who would you want to celebrate a Cup win with? Any NHL player, past, present, future?
Oh shit. Any NHL player, past, present, future? So right now the first guy that came to my mind is Dylan Larkin. That guy is so cool, and I feel like he'd be a hell of a time. My roommate actually grew up playing with him in Belle Tire in Detroit, and I always hear great stories about Larkin, and I got to meet him at the Player Media Tour, and that guy is cool as shit. I'd love to have a night with him in the Cup for sure.
Yeah, I think Phil Kessel would be fun too. Just a bunch of hot dogs.
He's done it before though. It wouldn't be his first time. You want
That's
a first
true.
timer.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Shit, mine would just Ovi came to my mind right away, man.
Well, yeah, he was, no one did it better than him.
Yeah.
No one did it better than Ovi.
Yeah. Next one is best Rangers game you witnessed at MSG, like in person.
I've been to a lot of good ones, to be honest. I was at the Stepan overtime game 7 against the Caps. I was at the Marty St. Louis overtime game against the Canadiens. But I would say that Stepan game, just that moment in general, that was super sick. Like, it really felt like they were going to win the cup that year. But also, I will say the best top to bottom game, like that game 7 against the Penguins a couple years ago, that was so sick. That one might be like the best overall game, but the moment I would say.
The moment of that one, no, for sure. All right, this one, I've had debates with my friends on this one. What do you think prime Jonny would be rated in the NHL game?
Oh, man, like 50s? Like, are we saying like
like prime? Definitely. Yeah.
I truly believe if I played 82 NHL games, I think I could score 2 goals.
2 goals?
I think I'd find a way to score 2 goals.
Okay.
Yeah,
whether it's a greasy rebound or like, backdoor or whatever, I would find a way, I think.
I think the lowest you can get is like 45 overall.
Maybe 50 is too generous.
Maybe 49.
Stamina was my problem. I had bad stamina, but I could skate.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's funny. And then last one, what would be your, like, if you could pick a goal song just for you and you score, what would that song be?
That's a great question. Like, not even caring about hyping the fans up?
Yeah, but like, it's up to you. I mean, hyping yourself and the fans up, like, just electric.
That's a tough one. It's so funny because I ask these questions and I never think about it. I'm putting myself in these guys' shoes now. It's hard. The first song that came to my mind, which is, I don't know how you guys are going to take this, but it was Freaky Friday by Lil Dicky and Chris Brown.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm a big Lil Dicky fan. So, so that's what came to my mind, which is probably the most random answer you could have gotten.
Yeah. That's funny. All right, Jonny. Well, thank you for coming on to our show.
Yeah.
Really appreciate anyone that listened. I hope you guys go and follow him. What's your Instagram? Is it just Jonny Lazarus?
My Instagram is just my name, Jonny Lazarus, and then Twitter is JLazzy23. And I am happy to hop on with you guys anytime you need. Seriously.
For sure.
Sean, I genuinely meant it. Like, it was great meeting you in Nashville. And
same.
And Galli, good hanging out with you over the computer. But
nice to meet you.
I'm sure we'll get a rip at some point together.
Oh, fuck yeah, man.
But good stuff, guys.
Cool. Yeah, let us know if you're ever in Boise, Idaho, man.
I don't plan on it. It's not not high on the list, but if I'm ever there, I'll hit you guys up.
Yeah, that sounds good. All right, guys. Well, thanks for listening, everyone. I'll plug all of his stuff in our bio, so if you guys want to follow him, do anything like that, for sure, let us know, and then we'll be back next week talking more hockey.
Thanks, fellas.